Hi, my name is Sarah Federman, and I'm a graduate of the doctoral program at the School for Conflict Analysis and Resolution at George Mason University. And I wanted to talk today briefly about something that people ask me about often, so I figured it was a common question. And that has to do with how to work with difficult material in your writing. For my doctoral dissertation, I interviewed 80 Holocaust survivors and was often in archives dealing with Holocaust materials, looking at original source documents, roundup orders from the French police, Nazi orders, and so on, and going to commemorative sites. And it becomes rather heavy after a while. And once I was done with the interviews and the primary research, I thought all was well. I was relieved to be done. But then the chair of my doctoral committee said to me, well, it's not actually done until you're finished going through the interviews. Once you actually go through them and begin the writing process, you actually go through a whole other level of working with the material. And then one day she said, when you stop crying when you're working on the interviews, that's a sign that you've completed the work on them. So how do you get to that point? It's pretty heavy work. There's a lot of people in my program dealing with all kinds of different atrocities, things happening in Darfur with the refugee crisis, working on Israel-Palestine, working on issues in Iran, working with sexual violence, rape cases, post-atrocity in Bosnia. So there's a lot of things that people are dealing with that are quite heavy. And Daniel is one of the Holocaust survivors that I work with, and he's wonderful. He survived the Holocaust, Auschwitz actually. He was 12 when he was deported and came back when he was 14. And Daniel said something to me that really stuck with me, even though it's hard to believe it's true. He said, while of course going through the Holocaust would be one of the worst experiences in life, he said he believed that it was even worse for the people trying to study it because they have to imagine what happened. And one of the things that this brings up in the research is when you're interviewing people, what they've gone through seems and is so far worse than just listening to them that it's hard to even be compassionate for yourself as a researcher, because you think, all I'm having to do is listen. They actually had to live it. But what I think Daniel was trying to point out to me was that there is a lot of work being done when you're doing this material and when you're coming at it with a really loving heart. If you don't just want to intellectualize everything and stay present, it's painful because it's the worst of what humanity can do to each other. It'd be insane if you didn't feel this deeply. So I want to give just a few tips for people working on this material. There's actually tons of things I now do to help myself manage working with it. And I'm just going to give you 4 of them right now. One of them, and this sounds silly, but I discovered it very early on when I was doing my research in Paris during a winter. Winters in Paris are very dark and very rainy. And if you're studying World War II, you can actually feel like you're still in the 1940s because so many of the streets actually are the same. So I made a rule then that I would study no genocide after 8 p.m. I was having all these nightmares, different kinds of nightmares about the Holocaust. So I put a rule, no genocide after 8, and I have stuck to that for the past 5 years, and that's been great. The other is you may want to and may need to reduce your exposure to other kinds of atrocity in the news, or even violent films. I find when I'm working on something very deeply having to do with atrocity, having to do with murder, annihilation, grotesque medical experiments, I mean very heavy stuff, that even a few more images on the news is more than I could bear. So there's really a limiting of that. The other thing that really helped me is writing with other people, teaming up with others. You know, writing can be very isolating, and you can feel that you just need to struggle it out on your own, but when you're dealing with something so heavy, it's really nice to be around other people who are writing as well. So you're actually sharing, you're not going through the isolation of the writing while you're dealing with these other issues. In a way, I think of it as like tethering yourself, right? Tying a rope around your waist, and then when you're with other people so you can climb out of the hole for lunch and have a laugh and take a break. And then the other was a faculty member offered this, and she was right to do so. She just kind of offered to keep an eye on me and asked me to come to her if I was struggling with the interviews in any way. And that I really appreciated, having other people keep an eye on you. So that's the 4th one. Asking people in your life to say, hey, if I start looking a little funny or being emotional in weird ways, can you just let me know that? Because I was not unable to see the weight of it on myself and my own face. Because again, I thought whatever I was going through was nothing compared to what the people themselves had experienced. And if you're really present during these interviews and not just rattling off questions, but learning to be with people, you're gonna feel it. And you're actually helping them process the grief. I do believe that. So those are just 4 simple things. Again, I would do no atrocity work after 8 p.m. I would limit your exposure to other kinds of violence, not read other books that are about violence outside of what you have to, and not watch violent movies. I would really reduce that. And the other is I would write with other people. That was the number 3, write with other people. And again, number 4 is have someone else, other people keep an eye on you. So I have a host of other things that I do, but those are 4 major ones that have really helped me, and I hope they help you too. Good luck with your writing, and I'd love for you to comment on this video, share your tips with other people, because a lot of people are struggling with this, and there's really no need for people to do this alone. It's very heavy work, and it's very moving that people take it on, but there's no reason they actually need to be traumatized in the work itself. So thanks, and again, please do comment. We'd love to kind of help support people who are doing this work throughout the world.